is perfect. It's the people that don't take those chances are the ones that are making the true mistakes. The people that go out there and say, you know what, I want to try to do this. Or I want to try to live here. Or I want to do something different. You're going to fail. That's part of life. It's something I teach my kids all the time. Part of life is you are going to fail. But true failure is not taking those attempts. That's what true failure is. Not taking chances, reasonable chances, are what true failure is. Because you're never going to know how great you can be at something or how great your life can be if you don't take chances. Ronda Rousey's taking a chance here. Just because she's a great UFC fighter, WWE is different. It's scripted. They do rehearsals. You've got to not just be well, obviously she's got the athletic part covered, but you got to be good on the mic. You got to be good with your persona. And I think that she's going to do this, and I think she's going to be very successful at it. But I do think she's eventually going to go back to the UFC. And this is why. And I'm sure she thinks about this a lot. And she's openly talked about those 2 losses and how much they and they still bother her. You can tell in those interviews when she's asked about those 2 losses and how she pauses, they still bother her. But she's not going to want that to be the last memory. And she's not going to let that be the last memory. And those 2 losses should not define the tail end of her, I don't want to say career because she's not retired, but they shouldn't define her as a fighter. What she did for the women's division, how she grew it, how she was the face of UFC, how long she held that title, the amount of women fighters that she beat that at one point held the women's championship, that's what she needs to be known for. She still holds the record for quickest knockout in the women's division. She still holds the record for longest reign as women's champion in UFC. And yes, the talent level in the women's division in UFC has gotten better. There's no question about that. It has gotten better than what it was in Ronda Rousey's early days. But the only reason for that is because of her. Dana White talks about this a lot when he's asked about Ronda Rousey. And he is not ashamed to say it. He was hesitant about a women's division. He was hesitant on having more than one women's weight class. But he openly said it is because of what Ronda Rousey did when she was here that changed my mind. That type of thing and what she did as champion, that's what she needs to be known and remembered for. But in her mind, she knows people remember those 2 losses. She's going to want to change that. I don't know how long she's going to do WWE. But all we know is it's a full-time contract. She's going to be a major draw and a major star for them. And I believe she's going to do very well at it. And there's nothing wrong with that. People criticized Brock Lesnar when he said, hey, I'm going to go to the UFC. I'm going to quit the WWE for a while and go to the UFC. He did unbelievably well. Exceeded expectations. Bobby Lashley, another wrestler who has a very successful mixed martial arts career. Ronda Rousey has done it the other way. She did UFC first, now going to do wrestling. And there's nothing wrong with that. But she's not, let's make this clear, she's not retired from the UFC. Then I got asked the questions about Vince McMahon starting up the XFL again in 2020. It's a great time to do it. And look, he was ahead of his time. In 2001, when he did the whole XFL, it was too gimmicky. They tried to make it too edgy. The on-the-field play was terrible. When it comes down to it, what's going to make this succeed is the play on the field good? That's really the bottom line here. And it's going to be similar to, what arena football and Euro football was. And arena football is still going. And I tell everybody, if arena football is still exceeding and doing well, and Canadian football is still being televised, Vince McMahon can make the XFL work. Because Vince McMahon has shown with the WWE that he knows what his fans want to see. And Vince McMahon sees an opening here. And he's going to do the season at the tail end of the NFL season. He's going to start the season in January. And it's going to go in until probably early spring, early summer. Which is the time that you want to do it. Because that's when NHL and NBA season is going on. So he's not really going to be competing with the NFL. He's not going to be doing his season while their season is going on. But he sees an opening here. He sees the drop in ratings. He sees the political stuff that's gotten into the NFL. And he has said, look, this is going to be different. It's not going to be like it was before. It's going to be gimmick-free. We're not going to do all that crazy stuff we did before. There's going to be different rules. We're going to try to make each game 2 hours long. It's going to be family-friendly. And there's going to be players that are going to see this as a great opportunity of, if they don't get drafted, if they don't get a free agent signed, or if they, got into the NFL but then faded out, the XFL is going to be an opportunity to get back in. There's going to be coaches that are going to try to use it to get in. And another brilliant thing I think he did with this is he's not sitting up there and saying, we're going to start this next season. He's given it 2 years to be put together. That's plenty of time to figure out arenas, figure out teams, owners, players, television rights. There's talk that it might be on, they might get their own network for it. Plenty of time to figure that out. But if arena football is still as predominant as it is in the summer months, and Canadian football is still getting American airtime, the XFL can make it work. And if there's one man that can do it, it's Vince McMahon. And people are already saying, he's going to fail twice. He failed before at it. He's going to fail again. It's different now. And I think most people want to see this. And I'm sure he's going to look at plenty of, things that are issues in the NFL and try to not make it issues in XFL. He might do it where, it's 1 foot for a catch, like college football rule, to kind of help more clearly define what a catch is. He might make it where, there is only certain amount of replays, and that refs aren't too heavily involved in the game. He might open it up more. People say the NFL should have never got rid of the Euro League. They shouldn't have got rid of USFL. which was amateur football. It was semi-pro football. That's what it was. And people have been, asking about, is NFL going to get like a D-League? Well, this is the opening for it. And that's what Vince McMahon is seeing here. And it's going to be interesting to see how it's put together and what he ends up doing. So Blake Griffin was traded to the Pistons. Cavs and Pistons play tonight, 8 p.m. TNT. Cavs favored by 5.5. Blake Griffin not playing tonight. He has to clear, all the physical stuff. They got to get him in. There's a bunch of other stuff they got to do. He's scheduled to, I believe, play on Thursday. Clippers won this trade. They got 2 starters from the Pistons, 2 automatic starters. They got a first-round pick for 2018, a second-round pick for 2019, and then on top of it, they got the Pistons to take Blake Griffin's salary. And what the Clippers did by making this trade, they sent the message of, we're going after LeBron. Because everybody knows if LeBron does indeed decide to become a full free agent at the end of this season and not return to the Cavs, that there's a high probability that Paul George is going to go with him. And that there's going to be some other free agents that are going to want to go with them. That is what is probably going to happen here, and the Clippers know that, and that's why they made this trade. Another reason they made this trade is we're not getting any better. We're stuck in that mediocre era. We're not getting any better. It was a great trade by the Clippers. And, no knock on the Pistons. They're doing what they need to do to get better. And that's a decent team there. It's not horrific. It's a decent team. Blake Griffin, in my opinion, has always been overrated. That's just my opinion on him. He gets injured a lot. All he can really do is play in the paint. He's been trying to shoot threes a lot more than he should be lately. And in my opinion, he's always been overrated. Even in his early days when he got drafted in 2009 by the Clippers, I said, man, this guy, he's not great. He's good. He's not great. He's been overrated. In my opinion, he's one of the most overrated players in the league. That's just my opinion of him. Nothing personally against him. That's just my opinion. But good move by the Pistons, but a better move by the Clippers. Because the message that this sends is, one, you're telling your fans, we're doing something different here. We're done with what was here. We're done with being mediocre. We're done with getting to the first round of the playoffs and getting bounced. We're done with all that. And the second message that it sends is, we're all in on going after LeBron. We all know from sources and plenty of people that the main reason that the Cavs were not able to acquire Paul George is because LeBron and his agent told Paul George, we are not going to be here much longer. Do not come here. And that's why Paul George is on a 1-year lease with the Thunder. There's a high chance that whatever team gets LeBron, and most people believe it's going to be the Lakers, but who knows, that there's a high chance that you're at least going to get Paul George, and there's a good chance you may get another top star to come over there. Because one thing that LeBron brings with him, all the top free agents want to play with him. That's why Carmelo, that's why Paul George, that's why Chris Paul all wanted to know. When they were on the free agent list this past season, they all wanted to know, what is LeBron going to do? Where do I need to go here? A lot of people believe that Houston is going to be the major leader for him. I don't think him and Harden would get along. Harden is hard enough to play with. So is Chris Paul. But we know, like I said, we know